Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar, 10 Features to Improve Your Daily Processes. My name is Jennifer Six. I'm a Senior Education Consultant.
And my name is Travis Ferlin. I'm an Education Consultant.
We do have an agenda. You can see some of the very exciting things that we love about ConnectWise, and we want you guys to love them too to make your days better. Some of the really exciting things in here we'll just highlight because we will go through all of them in more detail. But dashboard visibility is definitely a really big one. That's really exciting. Using automation around your custom fields, using custom menu entries, links, which is one that has been around for actually quite a while, but is pretty underutilized. So we want to make that one more visible and aware to you. And then things like your My Account and Team tab that are really just there that are going to help you out. So let's jump right in.
All right, here we're with Andy, who's a service technician, and he was looking for more visibility to either the service processes or anything that they need visibility on. They want to be able to see that on tickets. So what can we do? We have a few options. So you could display dashboards in pods on tickets. You could have a new tab for dashboards, or you could even have it display in the Today screen and have that your default when you log in. The first thing you see is that dashboard. So I want to go through really quick on how you can set this up. So we're already in Report Writer. We got here by going to the System module and opening up the Report Writer. Once we opened up the dashboard that we wanted to create a pod for, we're going to click this, we like to call hamburger icon in the top left-hand corner. That's going to roll out this menu. And in order to create this connection, we need the link to this dashboard. The way we're going to get that is by hitting this mail icon and selecting the Send Link to Email option. Now this will open up your Outlook or whatever email service you use, and you'll want to highlight that field and just copy it. You can then close out the email. You don't need to actually send anything out. But once we have that field copied, we're going to go into our setup tables and open our ConnectWise hosted API setup table. You can see here I already filled out the screen and the description, so I want this to show my service ticket. I already selected the pod that I want to go in, and in that URL field, I'm going to paste the URL that I got from the email. A new feature that is in 2016.5 is the pod height field. So previously it was a set height, so if you had a very large dashboard, you would have to scroll through to see all the different fields on that dashboard. With the pod height, you could determine how high the height of that pod. So in this case, we chose 500. So to show you what that looks like after we save that setup table, this is a service ticket that has that service dashboard pod. As you can see, again, these are movable pods, so if you want that, the first thing you see, you can move that right to the top of your ticket. If it's something you wanted to hide, move to the bottom, collapse the pod if you don't need it, or you can even make it a tab if you don't want it on that main service ticket screen. Now you can make your own dashboards and hold whichever information is going to be most useful for you and your company.
Very good. Love that.
Yeah.
Visibility is key.
It's one of my favorite features.
Of course. Well, now we have Chris, and he is the service manager, and he needs a more branded and cohesive look when sending out closed-loop emails. And I know we've both come from support, so we have heard this request quite a bit. So we're really excited to tell you en masse about something you can do about your closed-loop email templates. So right now, if you're not using a template, this is what those emails that you're sending out of ConnectWise, out of tickets, look like. They're formatted, but if you're looking to brand it a little bit more, you are not stuck with what this looks like. You are able to customize it out quite a bit and give it that more cohesive feel. So, wow, look at that. This is something that you could change that to. So this is still a closed loop email simply sent from a time entry on a service ticket, but you can see now we've branded it with the partner support coming from us. We have some nice bold and colored letters. And the way that we do this is through the service board setup table. So we're going to walk you through what this setup will look like. So here you'll notice that we're in a service board and we're in the statuses tab creating a specific status. The reason we want to create a specific status is so that we can create a specific email template for it, and we'll show you how that status plays into closed loop here in a second. But we have this new status set up called closed loop email template. You'll find down here that we do have it selected to use an email template, in this case for both internal and external emails. If we scroll down on that screen, this is where we're going to be able to build out what that template will look like. And you'll notice down at the bottom, we do have that import HTML template option where we're able to pick templates we've used before, or if it's something that maybe we got from the marketplace and we've saved locally on our workstations. We can even browse to a different template and get that pulled in. So you'll see this is actually one that we do have on the marketplace. So if you are interested in going out there, it's underneath the system module. You'll have that marketplace icon, and that will take you into the partner exchange. Be sure to filter and search what you're needing to find, but as soon as you do locate an HTML template you're interested in, you're able to go ahead and download that onto your computer, and then, as we just went through the process, pull that into ConnectWise. So here you're able to make some edits to it, get it looking exactly how you want it to look, brand it out. Do want to mention that we do have some really important tokens you're going to want to use, because now you're using a template to send out whatever information is put into that closed loop entry. So it's really important that you use tokens like contact first name, contact last name to make it personalized, include their names. The time entry notes, that's a really, really big one, because we want to make sure the notes that you're entering in that time entry are getting pulled into that email, or otherwise I don't know how useful it is or effective. So really make sure that that token's in there. And then we've got some additional ones that you might want to consider using about maybe what the next scheduled date is, if there is something coming up. These are up to your discretion, but I do really want to highlight the time entry notes token as one to use so that you find success with this process. And then once the email's built out, you've got your status set up, the template's linked to it, you've used all of your tokens, you do want to come back to the service board tab, and in the time entry and closed loop automatic email options, turn on closed loop by selecting that you want to send those notes to the contact and the resource. In this case, we're really just setting it up for the contact internally. We're not too concerned about the template, but we are going to go ahead and use that specific status closed loop email template to be used on those closed loop entries. So that's why it's so important that we have all of that prereq set up with our tokens, our HTML, before we come out and select what template we want to use. But now moving forward, any emails that we send through tickets on this board, we'll go ahead and just filter the information in the time entry through to that template and pull in what's appropriate with your tokens. So hopefully that one's really exciting for you, because I know I've seen it quite a bit.
Yes. So CEO Sam, he likes to build reports in ConnectWise, but he doesn't have the time to pull them each month. So if he has clients, he needs to pull reports for each one of them each month. That can take a lot of time to go in, print them, or send them through email. Well, ConnectWise can do that for you. So we have the ability to schedule reports, and I think this is a feature a lot of our partners kind of just overlook and don't realize it's there. So you could schedule reports to go out daily, weekly, monthly, one time, quarterly. There's a lot of different options in that scheduling option. And it could send to internal or external contacts. We're going to want to make sure when they reply to it, it's going to come back to an email connector. So if we're sending out an agreement recon report, we're going to want that to come back to the billing email connector if they have an issue with some of the time they got charged on that agreement. And you can even add quick links to your ConnectWise Today screen. So if it's a report that you want to see and you want to be able to pull that on demand, you could add that to your Today screen to see. And finally, you have the ability to customize the subject and the body of the email that you're sending. So this is our aging detail report. We've gotten here by going to the finance module and opening up the finance report section and then opening this report. In order to schedule this report for future use, you'll want to hit the icon that has the star in it at the top of the screen. And that's going to pull up this screen. And you want to make sure you check that schedule report for future use options. And then right above that is the display in today's screen option. If you did want to pull that report on demand, you could set that. Below, I wanted this report to send to me weekly, so I want to see it every Monday. If we scroll down a bit, we can see that we have the recurrence range set. We have that coming out on Mondays at 7 a.m. This particular report we have a no ending date on. Let's say this was for an agreement, like that agreement recon report we were discussing, and we know it's only a yearly agreement. We could set that end date to the end of the year. This way they're not still getting these emails once that agreement's finished. And finally, below this, we have the report server email option. So this is where you'll set who the report will go to. It can be sent to multiple people by separating them with the semicolon. And then the reply to field, again, that should be an email connector. This way, everything's staying inside ConnectWise. And you have the subject, comments. If you want to CC anybody on this, you could do that as well. And then a little pro tip. If you want to send a report monthly, it's very important to use the select by field and select the either last month, last week, last quarter option, and not put a specific date range in there. Again, this is something I think is overlooked a lot. So in this example that we have on the screen, you can see that we have a monthly report. It's going out on the 1st of every month, and we have the select by set to last month. This way it's going to capture the full last month, the first through the last. There's no what if the month ends on the 30th, the 31st, the 28th. It's going the first of the month, and they'll get the last month's full report.
Awesome stuff. So now we have the sales manager, John, and he says, custom fields seem like a great idea, but I'm not really sure how to fully utilize them and what benefits he's going to see. So this is one of my favorite examples of how to use your custom fields because I think it applies to a lot of us out there, right? So this is an example of a custom field on your opportunity where it's simply asking, is this a new client? So we had a lead, we've generated it into an opportunity, and now I just want to know with this custom field, is this an add-on? Do they already have services from us? Or is this a brand new client that I'm going to have to treat with my onboarding process when this gets won? So by simply answering this question right from the get-go, I'm able to then automate what's going to happen when that sale is won. And that's going to be done through a workflow rule. So as you can see here, I'm looking for won opportunities that also have the new client question answered as yes. So that's going to tell ConnectWise what to do when this situation is found. So what is it going to do? Well, in this particular example, we're having it attach a track. And for those of you who are not familiar with tracks, Travis and I recently did a Tracks webinar that you can check out on the university. Has a lot of really great tips and how to use Tracks, but they're a ginormous piece of automation that you should check out if you're not already familiar. But in this case, all we've done is won the sale like we do, and we've said that it is a new client. The track is going to take care of all of the things that can be automated about our onboarding process just based on that. So we're coupling a lot of automation there, but it's really going to make your daily processes much better. And this is just an example of what a track can do, what this particular onboarding track does. So it's creating activities, it's sending emails, it has the ability to add contacts to groups, attach another track, create service tickets. There's a lot of things a track can do, and you really get to fine-tune exactly when and what a track is doing. And once it's set in stone, you never have to worry about it again. Set it, forget it.
Another great thing about custom fields, you can set them to required. So if you think your sales rep is going to forget to enter in that onboard or a new customer field because you're just adding it in, you could set that to required and have a yes, no, maybe an unsure option, which sets off a workflow rule to double check that. So there's a lot of different.
Unsure.
Yeah.
What's up? It's very helpful.
All right, so on to the next tip. So here's Jennifer, the finance manager. She just has trouble remembering to cancel collections track. So a client goes into collections, it's been 30 days, on day 40 they pay. Well, sometimes she forgets to cancel the collection track, so on day 60 that client gets another email, which just can cause some tension with their relationship. So a way to do that again is by using, if you have that collections track running, you could use company statuses to automatically cancel that track. So you'll have a workflow rule maybe that runs automatically when they haven't paid their invoice in a certain amount of days. That workflow rule can then change the company status to inactive, credit hold. Once you do get that payment from your client, you can, as you see in this company status setup table, check the cancel open tracks associated with this company. So you do go back in, you change the status to an active company, and that's going to cancel any open track with that company. You can reapply tracks if you need to. If you cancel something that you need, you can go back in and re-add that track. But for the most part, if it's on credit hold, there shouldn't be anything active going on. And yeah.
Exactly. Very good. Lots of automation. Oh, this is another exciting one. We have Linda. She's our accountant, and she spends a lot of time in ConnectWise and QuickBooks Online. And she just wishes she could do her job and all her job functions with less tabbing between applications. She's gotten good at the tabbing, don't get me wrong, but she just wishes she could stay within one. So this is another one that gets overlooked quite a bit, but is really, really exciting, is that you can actually add custom menu entries into ConnectWise. So of course you have all of your hard-coded ones underneath each of those modules to open screens and new tabs and new windows. that you get installed with ConnectWise and have security access to. But now we've opened it up so that you can actually add your own stuff into ConnectWise. So we're really customizing it, really making it your own. So in this example, Linda needs to have really quick access to QuickBooks Online. She wants to be able to move back and forth really quickly. So what does she do? She's going to add it into ConnectWise. So here you can see we're in a custom menu entry setup table. I've simply gone in to add a new custom menu entry. We're going ahead, we're giving it a menu caption. What is that screen going to be called in that module? What module is it going to live in? Here we've called it QuickBooks Online. We've given it a menu location of finance. That's where Linda spends most of her day. I've given it a very random image, but you are able to go in and set up whatever image you want to appear in that menu drop down. And I've highlighted over on the right the option of open in new window. So with the open in new window option selected, that's what it will do when you click on it. It will open it in a separate window. If you don't click that, it just opens in a tab in ConnectWise. It's probably also very important for me to point out the link field. That is where you put what URL you want this custom menu entry to guide you to. So I've told it not to open in a new window. I've got it set up in my finance module, and you can see my very random image down next to it. But now, there it is. I don't have to really worry about getting to it. And you can see in this screenshot, I've gone ahead, I've clicked on it. It's a tab in ConnectWise pulling that website back. So you might want to add in a custom menu entry for Quozel if you use Quozel Sell, QuickBooks Online, any web applications that you can really leverage within ConnectWise to make your job easier. Check out that custom menu entry setup table.
Yes, that is very cool.
Isn't it? It's really cool. I love that one.
All right, so our project consultant, Enrique, when he's working with clients on project, he often needs to access documents that live in my organization's shared drive. He wishes there was an easier way to get there. So luckily there is. If we go to the link setup table, you could see here our link name. We have it set to show S Drive client folder. And then down in that links definition field, we're going to use some of the available tokens in order to open up a specific folder in the S Drive. So we have the link set to view our S Drive. It's going to then open our client folder. And it's going to take the company ID in ConnectWise and open that folder if it exists on your S Drive. So if you have a clients folder, you have a list of all your clients, you could easily access all the documents in that folder. And I mean, as you can see here, this is a project ticket. This is a links dropdown. You could see that the S Drive option there, the S Drive to client folder. But there's more you could do with it. You could do a company search, you could do a contact search, just by using the different tokens in that available token list. Now, this is a pro tip we're going to add in. So this is really 11 features, not just 10, because this one is a great feature as well. The ability to hyperlink to a file in your S Drive. So I'm working on something and I want Jen to review it. I add that document to the ticket. This is on the Documents tab of a ticket. I select the Hyperlink to File option. I open it up in my S Drive. I attach it to the ticket. Now Jen can simply open that file from the ticket, edit it, save it, and then those changes automatically take effect when I reopen the same document in ConnectWise. She doesn't need to re-upload anything. It's just automatically in there for you.
That is slick.
Yes.
You just simply come in here, view it. Whoa.
Yes.
I love it. I love it a lot. I also love Paula, the Human Resources Administrator, because she works off of an HR board, because if it's not in ConnectWise, it didn't happen. And that board contains tickets for vacation requests, job applications, and more. So she wants a way to quickly identify new tickets, to know exactly what's in them, or at least what they pertain to, before she even clicks into it. And something that she can do, or maybe her network guy or email guy could do, is set up multiple email connectors. So this is something that gets overlooked quite a bit as well. You can actually have more than one email connector pointing to the same board. And the reason you'd want to do that is for something like the situation Paula's in. She has these tickets coming into the board. They're all HR functions, but she wants to know exactly what's going on without having to do a lot of ticket triage, just based on where they've sent it. So you can see here, 2 email connectors, one called applications at mycompany.com, the other time off at mycompany.com, both pointing to the same human resources board. We have some different defaults set up for them. So typically if someone's emailing time off at mycompany.com, they're going to exist in your ConnectWise. They're asking for time off. I would hope that they're already set up in there. But if they're coming from someone who doesn't work for you yet, they're just submitting an application, we've got a default company set up for our applicant company, a default member as the member on the ticket. But then you'll notice some of the more exciting things a little bit lower. We have a default source. Email connector is fine for that. The default type, we're already taking care of some of the ticket triage simply based on what email address it was sent to. So the applications, we're going into job applicant. The time off, we're going into PTO. And you can see that the status is different as well. We have a new applicant status, we have a new PTO request status. So maybe the reply through your status notifications is a little bit different. Thanks for submitting your time off request. Thanks for submitting your application. So we're able to customize the return reply. We're able to triage the ticket right up front. And you can have as many email connectors as you want. So you are not limited there.
All right. So here we have actually two of our employees. We have CFO Kumar and the finance manager Jennifer. So when Kumar goes to the invoicing screen, he only deals with agreements. So he wants to see the agreement invoicing tab. However, when Jennifer goes to the invoicing wizard, she would like to see the invoicing tab by default. So what can you do?
Click.
So to save you a click, if you do want to see the agreements tab first, what you could do is go to your member profile. It's located, if you click your icon in the top right-hand corner and selecting My Account option, it's going to open your profile. And in the List View Defaults pod, you can see the invoicing default options. So in this case, we have it set to Show Invoice tab. However, Kumar would want to select that second option saying Show Agreement Invoicing tab. Now, this is also set on the member's profile page in the system module. However, it can be overridden on this level on the profile if the security rights are in place.
Yeah, and this is a little thing, but when we think about how many clicks you have to do in a day to get to the screens you want to get to, it's definitely a really helpful one. And I can definitely say, if no one told me about this, I probably would not know that that was even an option to change my invoicing default tab. So that's big.
Yeah, I mean, on that profile tab, you also have the option to set your default board, your default project board, your scheduling default. So there's a lot of different options you can customize to save you clicks, and that time will add up.
It will. Time is money.
Yep.
And we have our last business case. It is our account manager, Shivani, and she is the account manager for a handful of companies, not all of them. And the companies that she is an account manager for, she wants to be assigned to those tickets. Not the rest of the companies, just the company she manages. So this is another really cool feature that we don't see used as much as we would like to see used. You'll notice that under each of your companies, you do have a team tab where you're able to start specifying, what relationship different members in your organization have to that company. So in this example, we don't have Shivani in our test database, so you can see that Chris Shea is actually the account manager. We've labeled him into that role for Chris Craft Boats, and that means down the road we can start to use things like auto assign. So here we're on a service board. We're in the auto assign tab and we're telling it, hey, when a ticket comes through on this board, I want to automatically assign this person. And because now we're using dynamic team roles, we're not using a static member, it now looks back to that team tab to determine who should I assign. If they don't have an account manager, it won't assign anyone. But it's really, really helpful because now I don't have to go through and say specific workflow rules or something. If it's this company, assign this person. Just throw them into the team. Yep. And you've got that taken care of. And something really helpful to note is that you can mass assign team roles via your mass maintenance screen. So if you're not familiar with that, it does live under the system module. Screen's called mass maintenance. Within that, you do have an option for company mass maintenance. You can go through, filter, select your companies, and assign team roles, or even just review who is Shivani the account manager for. I can pull that list view up and say, she only has 2 companies. What's going on? I got to assign her more. So there's a lot of automation built into using those team roles. So don't overlook them.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, let's say you're expanding, Shivani gets promoted, you can still go back into mass maintenance and replace everything that Shivani was the account manager for with the new account manager you hired. So let's say Chris is our new account manager. We go in there, we mass update all those roles, all the account manager roles to Chris.
So we are extremely excited to answer the questions that we received in.
All right. So the first question we received is, what's the simplest way to set up an agreement? And using agreement types is going to be the easiest way to set those up. There is an agreement type setup table located under the system module. There you can make a template for what you want your agreements to look like. This way, as you're going in and creating agreements, you just select that agreement type. It's going to default for you based on the fields you choose in that screen. This is a screenshot of what that setup table looks like. You could see you could default your application limits, the units, the billing, and all those options are going to be set here. So when you actually do apply it to a company, those will default for you. This is a screenshot. This is, if you're not on 2016.5, this is the new agreement screen. So as you can see here, there's that agreement type field. You'll use that drop down and select the agreement type that you created. And that, again, will default all the fields that you set in that setup table.
Very good.
And we do have a little pro tip for you. We do recommend creating agreements through opportunities. This is the conversion wizard. This was something that was added last year around IT Nation. If you have agreement class products on your opportunities, you win that opportunity, you can then use the conversion wizard to convert it directly to an agreement. And that's going to, again, this is that conversion wizard. As you can see here, you'll still select that agreement type. You'll select that custom agreement name along with the start, end date, and billing cycle.
Yeah, this is definitely a really exciting enhancement that has been out for a little while now. I think 2016.1 this was introduced. So make sure if you do follow the full ConnectWise lifecycle that you're taking advantage of this. It's a huge time saver when you're going from the one opportunity to that contract. This was another question we received. So when looking at the documents pod on a service ticket, I don't see the hyperlink to file option that was mentioned in the webinar. So there is a little bit of a different naming convention. If you are using the pod on the face of your ticket, it is going to be called the link to local file option. So again, just a reminder of what this is. If you are trying to bring in a document that is linked somewhere on a shared drive to ConnectWise, this makes it really easy because now you can link directly to that file path. So if I'm working on a ticket and I put the file on the ticket and I say, Travis, can you have a look at this and make some updates? He opens it. We're both accessing the file from the same part. Whereas if you're using the upload file or file on server option in the documents pod, or excuse me, documents tab itself, you're just putting a file there that when he opens, he's only updating it on his workstation. So this is really cool if we're collaborating. Makes it a lot easier.
Okay, the next question we received was, how can I find all the companies a certain member is the account manager for? So if you recall from the webinar, when every company has a team tab and you can assign different roles to different members or even contacts on that screen. So if you want to get a list of all the current, let's say in this example, in this screenshot, we're in the company mass maintenance screen, which is located under the system module. We're looking for the team role of account manager and looking for all the companies that Andy is the account manager for. So we select account manager in that team role field, choose Andy in the drop down, and then you can see in the bottom list view, right now, Andy's assigned to just one company. So if that was an issue, maybe Andy should be assigned to more companies than just one. We would know to go in and update that. You could also do updates in mass from this screen. So let's say we fired Andy, or he got promoted. That'd be better.
Better for Andy.
Yeah. We can come in here, search for all the companies he is the account manager for, use the checkbox here, and then select Update Selected Records, and you could go in there and just manually switch the account manager on all those companies.
Very good. So definitely check that screen out if you haven't seen it. I know from talking to partners a lot, this is a screen that's kind of that hidden gem.
Yes.
You don't really know it's there. So again, it's under the system module, and you can make a lot of updates to your company list through that screen.
One bonus thing on that screen, you can also export that list view.
Oh.
So if you want to send out a list to maybe Andy, he wants to know, he wants to have that physical list, you can export that to an Excel file and either send it via email or print it out and give it to them.
Very good tip. All list views, I can export those out. All right, this was a good question. So use of HTML definitely improves the overall look of emails. This is in regards to using templates on your closed loop emails. And I want to implement this new look. Since some mobile devices do not support HTML, I imagine like a fancy flip phone, how would you suggest that we handle this? So most modern phones can display that HTML, but we would recommend using a template that scales and is mobile device friendly. And really, just to be safe, put that text in plain text and not images. And then that way it scales nicely. You don't get any like funky stuff on the phone. And if HTML is something that you are interested in learning more about, we have good news. We have an advanced HTML webinar that is available in our video library. So if you were to navigate out to connectwise.com/video library, if you just do a quick HTML search, we have an advanced HTML webinar out there that we're highlighting here. And we also have a beginner HTML webinar that's out there as well. So whatever level you find yourself at, you can click into the appropriate one and get some of that knowledge from there. Okay.
Okay. So when scheduling reports, there's no select by selection. The report pod is entirely different. What type of report were you creating to get that particular reports tab? So if you recall from the webinar, we did a section on scheduling out reports. When you do schedule out a report, you want to use that select by field to pull up, last month, last quarter, last year, whatever time period you're looking for. However, that's not going to be on all reports. In our example, we use that agreement recon report, which we'll show you in a second.
Got ahead of myself.
But some reports don't need that. And the example that we have that Jen just showed a screenshot for was that aging summary report. This report, when you run it, you can see there's no select by field. What it's going to do is pull the last 30, 60, 90 days in this report's example, as you can see in this screenshot, and it's going to be based on the day the report is run. You wouldn't want to see a different time period. It wouldn't really make sense for this report. The good thing about scheduling those reports, if you ever want to go back and look at that historical data, you'll have that because it's automatically being emailed to you, so you could save a local file of those reports. But this report's going to get created based on the day that it is sent out.
Very good.
So we also threw in the slide that, just to reference that screenshot here, you could see in that bottom pod where it says report, the select by is set to last month. And again, this is the agreement recon report. Most reports will have this. Most reports use the select by option. There's only a few in the system that are going to pull based on the date the report is ran.
It's a very good tip. Well, one of my favorite tips is outside of this webinar, something that you may want to implement and use, something we call a standard note, previously known as service codes. If you are ever finding yourself typing the same kind of thing a lot into a closed loop entry, make sure to check out the standard notes. That makes it really easy to put predefined text blurbs into your time entry notes. Then that way you don't have to consistently type out the same things over and over. And you can always make sure that the grammar is correct and there's no typos, which is kind of nice. You don't have to worry about it there.
So we did have one question come through so far. That question is, how do you automate invoicing?
So one way that you are able to automate your invoicing is through the use of agreements. If you are using any kind of recurring billing method in your organization, your customers are on contracts, make sure that you are using those agreements, setting them up so that they do bill on that recurring basis. That makes sure that whatever you have those agreements set up to be will make sure that that flows through to your invoicing queue as you would expect, and you're able to create those en masse through there.
Yeah, great tip.
Oh, something else that I do want to mention to you all while you're all here, interested in learning about fun tips and tricks. We do have on our university, on the home screen, a news feed. And in that news feed, we update every week a helpful tip and trick. So I will go ahead and quickly show you where that lives. And I would recommend you go out there, check it out. Yours truly actually updates it every Monday. So if you go out there after about 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, you will find.
So while it's not responding, we do have a couple actual questions that came in.
Sure.
So the schedule reports option, does that apply to custom reports as well, or just built-in reports? So Report Writer does have a built-in scheduling option. I don't know the details off the top of my head on how to get there. Are you familiar with that, Jen?
I am not, actually.
Okay, so it's not going to look the same. There is a different format for how you do schedule those out. We can get a ticket in for you to get you there's a link on the university, so we could send that over to you via email. So we'll get that out to you, but you can schedule those reports out similar to the standard reports that ConnectWise provides.
Absolutely. So here we are on the university home screen. You'll find here, this is your news feed. Always this little light bulb, ting ting. You will find a tip and trick. This week's is about the fact that ConnectWise can track time accrual. So if you are interested in that, there's always more information behind the tip and trick. You can just click it, and it will link you to either a doc that's helpful or a video that we think you'll find helpful.
So next question. I have a workflow rule set up that uses Web Connect to create a ticket. My boss wants to have it create an activity or track instead. Is that possible?
So through the use of a workflow rule, one of the actions or two of the actions that are available are to create an activity or to attach a track. So I will quickly pull this up. So in your workflow rules, and workflow rules are always the biggest tip and trick that we can give you because those are a very, very big piece of automation. But here in the setup tables, if I just go into any workflow rule here, if I look at the actions, I got ahead of myself. I have to wait for everything to load. If I go into the actions, I do have, okay, I got excited again. I have different options of what I want ConnectWise to do when that criteria is found. So you'll find in here that create service ticket is one of them, but I also have create activity or attach track. And you can do these all at the same time. So if there's one particular event that you're looking for, but maybe you need a track associated and an activity created, you can do both. So you're not limited to one action for each event. You can have multiple actions.
All right, so we did get a response. Someone actually knows a lot about Report Writer.
Awesome.
So just so those of you that were curious, you can schedule reports through Report Writer from the Miscellaneous tab. It will send outgoing emails. You can schedule them out from that tab. Just a note for some cloud partners that might be a little delayed, so it won't go exactly that time.
That is an awesome tip. Thank you very much for sharing that.
So we have a question, a follow-up to that workflow rule question. How do I have an email trigger the track or activity? So if you're doing that through your email connector, as far as I'm aware, there's no way to create an activity based on that. The only option you would have would be, again, to use a workflow rule to monitor those new emails. Mm-hmm. And what that workflow rule could do is when a new email comes in, it can create an activity, and it could also set the ticket to a closed status. This way your board's not cluttered up with those tickets, and you are also creating that activity that you're looking for.
Yeah, so if you are looking for specific criteria, make sure to become familiar or at least research the available workflow rule triggers. That way you can narrow down which tickets that workflow rule is finding and actioning on. We do have a very detailed workflow rule trigger document on the university. So if you pull that up, it'll explain what each of those different triggers is. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope to see you on our next webinar.
Thanks, guys.